They did it again, ladies and gentlemen. The Dallas Cowboys with another embarrassing early playoff exit. It's Groundhog's Day again. And here I am at the end of another Dallas Cowboys season with nothing to show for it. The Dallas Cowboys are now the first team in NFL history to have 3 consecutive 12-5 seasons and not reach the conference championship game. Heads need to roll, things need to happen. Change is inevitable, but will the change even change the outcome of what we see every single year? I am Kmess here for the Birds vs. Boys Dallas Cowboys playoff exit postgame show. It is bright and early Monday morning. I wanted to do this fresh right when the game ended. However, some family things came up and I was unable to. But don't worry, it's just as fresh this morning as it was Sunday night. And where to begin? Last week on this show, I was talking to Aiden about the way I wanted this game to start for the Dallas Cowboys. And if you did watch it, thank you. Welcome back. If you didn't, I'll give you a little synopsis of what I said. I wanted the Dallas Cowboys to take the ball first. If they won the toss, I am usually a proponent of deferring to the second half, play defense first, get the ball in the second half. However, in this game, I wanted the Dallas Cowboys to take the ball, to take it to the Green Bay Packers. Now, they lost the coin toss, so they had no choice in this. However, Packers did exactly what I said. They won the toss. They took the ball. I wanted the Cowboys to have a 7-8 minute drive, 75 yards, touchdown. And here we were, the complete opposite. I wanted the Cowboys to do all of this, to take half of the first quarter, have the crowd into it, so that when Jordan Love hit the field for the first time in the playoffs, he was down 7-0 on the road in a raucous atmosphere with half the first quarter gone. Instead, Jordan Love took the ball, went right down the field, scored a touchdown, took half the quarter away, and put Dak Prescott on the field at home as the 2 seed, down 7-0, and he was lost. He looked rattled. He looked confused. He looked scared. He looked like he had a daze in his eyes. So everything, literally everything that I called for the Cowboys to do on that opening drive, the Packers did to the Cowboys on the road. And that's embarrassing. They had them almost stopped, right? It was about to be 3rd and 13. The first 2 plays for the Packers were both negative plays. And then there was the illegal interference by Bland that gave them an automatic first down. So instead of 3rd and 13 on their own 22-yard line, it's now 1st and 10. And from that play, everything went downhill. The first 2 plays, Micah was revved up. The defensive line was going. As soon as they got that penalty, everything went away. Micah Parsons had 1 pressure in this game. 1. And that was on a play where they let him have a free rush. He was 0 for 9 on pass rush attempts in the right tackle. 5.3% was his pressure rate in this game, the lowest in his career. This was the first game all season where the defense did not have a sack. And there's a lot of questions about Dan Quinn today. There's been some questions, right? This defense has kind of been faltering. They've been, dare I say, fraudish all season long. If this Cowboys defense does not get turnovers, they get run over. Now, we know Aaron Jones is the father and owner of this Cowboys franchise. And now it just seems like they've went from Aaron Rodgers, who owned them, now to Jordan Love, who has some of the same mannerisms and doing the same things in the same stadium. The Green Bay Packers now have 3 playoff wins in AT&T Stadium, including a Super Bowl victory. The Dallas Cowboys have 2 playoff victories in that stadium. The Green Bay Packers are undefeated at AT&T Stadium. You were the 2 seed. They were the 7, the first ever 7 seed to win a playoff game. And not only win a playoff game, but embarrass you on your home field. You fought tooth and nail. You hoped for the Eagles to collapse. They gave it to you on a silver platter to get the 2 seed, so you could have home field advantage until the NFC Championship game, possibly until the Super Bowl if the cards fell right and somebody knocked off the 49ers. But it didn't matter. 16-0 at home in the last 2 years. And when it mattered most, they showed up unbelievably small. I don't know what I am right now. I'm not angry. I'm not sad. I'm numb. But this loss was the worst playoff loss they've had in a long time. The 07 season, for those that remember, that was bad. They were the 1 seed. That season, they had beaten the New York Giants twice, dog-walked them. They had already beaten the Green Bay Packers in the regular season. All they had to do, they had the bye. All they had to do was beat the New York Giants at home, who they'd beaten twice, like I said, beat the Green Bay Packers, who they had already beaten at home, and go to the Super Bowl. Instead, they show up embarrassingly lame at home against the Giants and lose. The Romo snap in Seattle, incredibly frustrating. It was basically an extra point to win the playoff game. Dropped, done, season over. They were going to beat the Bears the next week, by the way. The Dez caught it year, right? I mean, I've tweeted about it. We've talked about it. It was 9 years ago. That team was probably going to go on and beat Seattle the next week. It was frustrating. It was heartbreaking. It was agony. But they were in the game. They showed fight. 2016, number 1 seed. You blow it. Blow it at the end. Jeff Heath comes in for the sack, doesn't strip. Next play, 3rd and 20. First down, field goal, season over. They all sting. 49ers 2 years ago. You were in that game. Dak runs up the middle at the end, runs out of clock, runs out of time. Literally runs the clock out on your season. Last year, had no offensive weapons once Tony Pollard got hurt. But you were still in the game. But then you put Zeke at center to end his career. They all sting. They all have that thing that happened. Drop snap, catch that wasn't a catch, a 3rd and 20 conversion, a bad interception. This was just everything. I don't know if it was lack of preparation from the coaching staff. I don't know if it was lack of concentration from the players. But they got dog-walked from beginning to end. Do not let the final score deter you from what this game really was. And that was a blowout from beginning to end. I've seen some Cowboys fans on Twitter being like, well, it was 60 minutes. It's really just a 1-score game at the end. No, it was 41-16. They called the dogs off. Jordan Love was out. Aaron Jones was out. Gary was out. The main defensive players were out. Jair Alexander got hurt. When you did your damage at the end, meant nothing. Paper tiger. It's what you are. It's what this team is. When it mattered most, they showed up lame again. And it starts from the top down. And by top, I'm going to start with Mike McCarthy. 12-5, 12-5, 12-5. Playoffs 3 straight years. Most fan bases would love that. And I'm not going to lie, I enjoy it. An NFC East banner is fun. Winning regular season games is fun. If people tell you that it's not and you shouldn't care about the regular season, why do we watch? Why do we watch for 17 games if it doesn't matter, if it shouldn't be fun? Winning is fun. We enjoy to win. And winning 12 games 3 years in a row, hell, after sitting through the Quincy Carter years, the Wade Phillips years, Dave Campo, 8-8, Jason Garrett every year, winning 12 games 3 years in a row and being in the playoffs every year is enjoyable. But something happens when that page flips to the playoffs for Mike McCarthy. He took over the offense this year and really changed it for the better. But he's got no answers when the big test comes up, right? You could score 1,600 on your PSATs. Doesn't mean shit if you score 750 on your real SATs. Colleges aren't looking at your PSAT scores. Colleges are looking what you scored when it really mattered. And like I said, winning in the regular season is fun. Winning in the playoffs is inevitable. That's what you need to do. And I just don't think he's the guy to do it. We always talk about his lack of concentration on the little things. And it seemed like he had either didn't have this team locked in all week because they just thought they were going to dog walk a 7 seed. It looked like everything that they did during the regular season, especially at home against teams like this, against the defenses with that shell coverage, Dak was eating it up all year. It seemed like they were like, let's play with one hand tied behind our back because no matter what we do, we'll beat this Packers team anyway. Let's just try and bang our head against the wall and continue to run it. Let's not throw it to our CD. Let's not do the things to get us going, get Dak in a rhythm. And it bit them in the ass because they blinked and they were down 14-0. I'm not going to sit here and just talk about Mike McCarthy being replaced. That's another conversation for another time. And so is praising this team for what they did this season. There was a lot of good things that happened this year, but not today. Because it's a real conversation that needs to happen about Mike. And it's going to happen quick. Because if they want to make a move, they have to do it fast because of the names that are out there. Bill Belichick, Mike Vrabel, Jim Harbaugh. There are people out there, and I guarantee you there was going to be conversations in the next day or two. So it starts with Mike. Then we go to Dan Quinn. I don't know if he checked out last week. I don't know if it has to do with the interviews. I don't think so because they're all professionals. I don't think Dan Quinn taking an interview with the Carolina Panthers is going to affect the way Micah Parsons rushes the passer, but it could hurt the preparation because the way the defense was playing, the scheme and the strategy made no sense. They were just leaving the wide receivers wide open. I don't know, had bigger holes to Aaron Jones to run through or Romeo Doubs to run down the field in. There were plays where Dobbs and the Mims, you could freeze frame the TV tape and not see a Dallas defender in the screen. How does that happen? How are you playing such soft coverage? How are you dropping Micah Parsons into coverage on 3rd and long? Where was everything that you did? Why walk away from who you are and what made you successful this season by attacking, by playing man? They played man-to-man all season, and all of a sudden they're dropping into these zones, letting them get picked apart. Now, I got to give the Packers credit and Jordan Love credit. He was phenomenal. But some of those throws I could make with the windows that they had. It's time to move on from Dan Quinn. And I think that's already going to happen, right? Maybe Seattle, maybe somewhere else. They held on to him for 2 extra years, I think, when possibly he could have been a head coach somewhere. But listen, Dan turned this defense around. He made them ball hawks. I remember years where I felt like we would go 8 straight games, maybe more, without a turnover. The team didn't know how to produce turnovers. Now they do. And next year, they're still going to have Deron Bland. Trayvon Diggs will be back. They will still find ways to turn it over. But I think it's time to turn the reins over to somebody else. Maybe it's Al Harris, who's in-house. Maybe it's somebody else. But Dan did himself no favors yesterday. Will he still get a head coaching job? Probably. But in the eyes of the Cowboys fans and probably ownership, yesterday was unacceptable. And then we go to number 4. He was seeing headlights from the jump. Jittery. Then he started to press, obviously. Down 14-0, down 21-0. The pick to Jair Alexander, wasn't completely his fault. It was an amazing play. Could it have been PI? Maybe. But I'm not blaming the refs. That's not why they lost. The pick 6, however, it's quintessential Dak Prescott. Didn't see the robber. Didn't read it right. The robber read it perfectly. Boom. Touchdown. 21-0. Ball game. I had no confidence all game, even when it was 14-0, that this offense was going to kick it in gear and go. And even if they did, I had less confidence that the defense was ever going to stop Jordan Love and the offense to help them get back in the game. I don't know what you do with Dak, but there's really not much you can do. The $60 million cap hit will crush you, especially with some of the other cap hits they have. If they cut Michael Gallup, I believe it's $13 million dead cap space. If Zach Martin retires, which I believe is a very, very, very real possibility, it's a $42 million dead cap space hit because of how they've kicked the can down the road so many times and restructured Zach's contract. They're going to be in a cap hell. So they have to do something with Dak, i.e. an extension, which will pay him $60 million a year. Make him the highest paid player in NFL history until another one comes. But for now, making him the highest paid player in NFL history after that performance is just so Dallas Cowboys, it's not even funny. Like the franchise is cursed. Barry Switzer cursed his franchise. And I thought putting Jimmy Johnson in was going to break the curse. Didn't break the playoff curse, that's for sure. But Dak, an 8-year veteran, completely outplayed by a first-year starter in his own building. It's unfathomable. It really is. But at the same time, it's so predictable. Because we've seen it before. And before, and before, and before, and before. And guess what? We'll probably see it again. But that's if this team makes the playoffs next year, because with the free agents that are on the horizon, and who knows what's going to happen with the coaching staff, who knows if they even make the playoffs next year. Now, again, just like it's not a time to look at the regular season from this year and praise, it's not the time to look into next year, obviously. But we'll see what happens with Dak. But I've backed Dak a lot, with my own reservations and questions, obviously. But it might just be the time to say he is who he is. Shows up small when the lights are the brightest. 49ers games, playoff game, 2-5 all time in the playoffs. I don't have much for him right now. The CeeDee Lamb and Dak were just so off. It just, the body language from CD all game was terrible. They're down 27-7 with 10 minutes left in the third quarter. He catches a first down and he does the first down thing. Come on, man. Come on. You already know the season's over at that point. The optics of that, just catch the damn ball, hand it to the referee, and get back in the huddle, get back on the line because you guys need to hustle if you want any chance of getting back in this game. I love CD. Tweeted it. Without CeeDee Lamb, this team is 5-12, if that. The offense does nothing without him. But that pissed me off. Micah Parsons showing up small again in a big game, and I love Micah. But we've seen it 2 years in a row how he tails off in the second half of the season. And it's really frustrating watching him play in big, big games like this and get neutralized. And this is going to be a $30 million a year player. Neutralized when it matters most. You see Fred Warner getting neutralized in big games or other big names. I guarantee you if TJ Watt was playing on Monday night, he would make an impact. I don't have much. DeMarcus Lawrence has been great all year. Jumps off sides on a third down. Sam Williams, again, with a special teams penalty. The lack of discipline on this team is just unbelievable. And guess what? Who does that go back to? Mike McCarthy. It's been a problem all year. It's been a problem for 3 years. Let's face it. I don't have much for you, everybody. But showing up to a home playoff game as the 2 seed against a 7 seed, and a 7 seed's never won before, with the road to the championship game being 2 home playoff games, and you show up with no juice, and you show up lame, it's unacceptable. It is unacceptable. To see the legends of the past have more energy and fire on social media and on TV with Jimmy Johnson, Michael Irvin, Emmett, than this team had together on the field blows my mind. I've been very frustrated as a fan for 30 years. And listen, I'm old enough to remember the 90s Super Bowls. It's frustrating, but I've never been so disappointed in a team than this team right now in that game. Because you can fight in a playoff game and lose and be the laughing stock of the NFL, the butt of every joke. Because, like Stephen A. Smith says, just wait. Something's going to happen. That's different than not showing up. And not showing up is unacceptable. And that's why heads need to roll. Things need to happen. If it's a complete teardown and a rebuild, so be it. Because I'm done with this Groundhog's Day of the same damn thing every year. I'm done. We're all done. And now, our luck. The Eagles are going to beat Tampa. They're going to go on. And even if they beat the Lions, even if the Lions beat them next week, doesn't matter. They got further than you. Your division championship means nothing. Both teams stink. But leave it to the Eagles. Find a way. And watch, they'll find a way to the NFC Championship game. Somehow the Rams will beat the Niners, and the Eagles are Out of nowhere, going to be hosting the NFC Championship game. Oh, I'm sorry. No. Yeah, the Packers, are going to beat the Niners. And here we are in 2 weeks with the Eagles hosting the Packers on NFC Championship weekend in Philadelphia. That would just be the cherry on top for the poop cake. But it is what it is. We shall see what happens this week. I will be dropping more videos about the coaching staff. I'm going to do a free agent breakdown on players that I feel like I hope they can bring back and others that you let walk. Jerry, you got to do something, man. Whether it be change the coach, change your approach in free agency. I love Will McClay. I love the way this team drafts. But this draft class this year gave you zero. Mozzie Smith made no place. Luke Schoonmaker was a glorified extra blocker out there. Overshown, obviously, tore his ACL. Eric Scott, this cornerback that everybody said was going to start this year, wasn't even active. Fehoko did nothing. Zero from your draft class this year. Things got to change, guys. And they got to change quick. Thank you for joining my TED Talk. Dallas Cowboys season is over. Not draft season yet. I'm not doing draft talk yet. We got a lot to get through before we get to that. Let's see what happens this week in terms of if Mike McCarthy comes back or is let go. But like I said, it's got to happen quick. Probably not going to happen Monday, but it's got to happen within the next 48 hours or so. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you are here on our YouTube page for the first time, make sure you head to the homepage and hit that subscribe button. Follow us on Twitter, Birds vs. Boys Pod, Instagram as well. We do full episodes wherever you listen to podcasts, Google, Spotify, Apple. We are there. Full episodes with Aiden and myself. I do Cowboys breakdowns. Aiden does the Eagles breakdowns, and together we cover the entire NFL from draft to Super Bowl and everything in between. I am Kmess. You can follow me on Twitter at Kmess22. Whether you're an Eagles fan enjoying this or a Cowboys fan right there with me, have a great day.